When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
Warning, this podcast contains explicit language and spoilers. This is Behind the Iron Throne, your unofficial Game of Thrones cast.
Hello, Thronies, hashtag BTitties. Welcome back to Behind the Iron Throne. This is episode 169. Woo! That's a great number. We're going to go deeper into the season finale of season 7, The Dragon and the Wolf. Oh boy, I'm your host, Chris Gray, and I'm joined tonight by a great panel, a gaggle of Game of Thrones enthusiasts. You know them, you love them. Let's first start with our own Friar Tuck, Lord Duckdarian of the Wicker People. He is one crazy SOB. Welcome to the show, General Jonathan Stoma Stark Lover.
What's up, Chris? It's good to be here.
I hope you're excited because we got a chat room full of people, and we got a great community. We're ready to rock and roll, buddy.
I am super excited. Let's do this.
All right, awesome. Next up, we have the one true queen of the North. She is our very own mistress of Whisperers, and she even does her very own Facebook Live stuff for you, the B-Titties. That's right, you're a B-Titty. We love you. Andrea, the mistress of Whisperers.
Hey, what's up? I'm so happy to be back.
Yay! Our bonus episode, which we missed the last time, but at least we're going to get this one in, so that's good.
We're going to make it up, though, right?
Absolutely. And of course,
all right, because we had some concerned folks.
To help bring it in, to make it even more epic than ever before, we have the man that flies around in a Millennium Falcon. That's right, sometimes he lets me ride with him, and we pick up all the ladies. Oh, yeah. He has a Valyrian steel Gatling gun. He's the one, the only, the man, the militant marker, Yardley.
Hey, what's up, man? Very excited to talk about this last episode of Season 7.
So here we are, August 30th, 2017. And, of course, everyone knows that the big storm Harvey, which is named, my father's name is Harvey, and he's a dick. So this storm was terrible, and it devastated a lot of lives down in Texas, and now it's working up into Louisiana. Last I saw, a lot of damage, a lot of flooding. My business partner, Trisha Woods, here at TNRT Studios is fine. She's safe and sound. But we decided that all the money we made on Patreon and some of the money we made on my YouTube channels and the other TNRT monies, we're going to donate all of it, everything we made in August, to help with the relief efforts, and of course I'm going to be donating clothes. It's a tragedy what's happened to these people. If you get a chance, or you have some old clothes, if you want to get it together, and take it to Salvation Army or wherever you can, it'll get those goods to these people. I can't imagine myself what it would be like to lose everything in a storm like this. It's an absolute tragedy, and our hearts go out to everybody down there. But let's get this show back on a good note. We do this podcast live on Facebook.com/Behind the Iron Throne. And, of course, you can find out everything we do at BehindTheIronThrone.com. That's the easiest way. We have links to everything. All right, so let's break this episode down like it's 1999. Let's start out in King's Landing. We had the big meet and greet, right? The journey to the Dragon Pit. I love this whole scene. I thought that it kind of reminded me of the last episode where all these different characters are talking and having these conversations. Some of them have never met. Some of them have met, but they haven't been around each other in a while. And it was really exciting. I was also interested to see Podrick. So, Yardley, why don't you give me your thoughts on the Dragon Pit meeting scenes?
I definitely thought the arrival was great. The last time, if my memory serves me well, that we had Podrick, Tyrion, and Bronn in the scene together was the famous Magic Cock scene where we found out that Podrick was packing in King's Landing, actually. So it was all in that same space. And I thought that that was great that they kind of gave a nod to Podrick's special abilities. And outside of that, I really came to realize that Bronn never had an opportunity to get a chance to see the undead, he or Pod. And I thought it was a pretty cool nod to Varys, kind of talking about they didn't have much money. Tyrion was giving his pitch to Bronn about switching sides, and Bronn's in a pretty crazy position because no matter what side he takes, his reward will probably end up being death.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting conversation. Also, I don't know if you guys probably noticed, but Varys had very little talking scenes. He only had that one rub, right? I didn't hear him really say anything else, which was definitely interesting. And yeah, Bronn and Podrick did not get to see the undead creeper. Huh. John, did you love seeing Bronn and Tyrion brought back together, having their little chit-chat back and forth?
Yeah, I loved it. I always love Bronn and Tyrion together. They're awesome. So same with Tyrion and Pod. I thought that was awesome too. And Brienne and the Hound was also a great scene. Them going back and forth. I thought that was awesome. And the reason Bronn didn't get to see it is because him and Cersei are not allowed to be in scenes together because they used to date in real life.
Oh, I thought I heard something that they don't really get along too good. Is that true?
Yeah, it's in there. It's in both Leah Henley and the actor who plays Bronn's contracts that they can't be in scenes together at all.
Oh, yikes. Big shout out to Jose and Marjorie in the chat. I see you in the chat, and we love you guys there. If you guys want to bring up any questions, see if you can get them in here. I'll try to read them and get them into the show. In the meantime, I'm curious to know what the Mistress of Whispers has to say about this particular scene. And don't mess with the Hound's box.
Oh my God. I loved that. What's in the box? Fuck off. That was hilarious to me because he just doesn't care. And then he said to the same guy, if anybody touches it, I'm going to kill you first. I mean, it's not like he's not going to know if somebody touches it, but I thought that was hilarious. I also really liked the moment between Brienne and the Hound. I don't know if you remember, I said the Hound at some point was Arya's champion. And so this whole entire conversation, I was just trying to protect her. So was I. Arya is still alive. He got really, interested. Where? It took me back to the very first episode when he saw the father and the daughter that basically killed themselves because the Hound took all their money so that he could actually take care of Arya. And he was actually seeing Arya in that situation. I felt like that the very first episode, but I didn't say anything about it because I wasn't sure if I was reading too much into it. And then to see his genuine interest in Arya and her well-being and finding out that she was alive, it just kind of comforted me more. He saw her as a daughter figure, and I would even go as far as saying that they became a pack. When he said, if she's there and you're here, who's protecting her? And, Brienne responded, the only one who needs protecting is the one who gets in her way. And it was such a proud moment for Sandor. You could see this shit-eating grin cross his face, yeah, that's my girl. I taught her well. And I just really loved that. And then there was the conversation between Bronn and Tyrion, obviously, where he was like, you weren't looking out for yourself when you set this meeting up. And then Bronn basically laid it out for him. And he was like, well, that's good points. I missed you, because Bronn always thinks about number one. But I also like that Tyrion caught that he had actually been considering Daenerys in the first place. Dragons are where they draw the line. So, I mean, Bronn's checking out of there at some point. And I loved when he told... when he was talking to Jaime and he was like, if I didn't have a dick, I wouldn't be serving in an army. And Jaime said, maybe it is all cocks in the end. And then he goes, well, Tyrion chose to side with the cockless. Well, he goes, he's always been a champion of the downtrodden, cripples, bastards, broken things. And then Bronn responds, I think we're about to be the downtrodden. And I thought that was perfect. So it was a really good welcome home. Obviously, Pod and Tyrion is fantastic, and I liked the meeting. I mean the entrance.
Yeah, definitely cool. Marianne asked a question. What did we think about Tyrion's reaction to Jon and Dany? And we'll definitely get into that later on in the episode. Jeff Perry says maybe Pod can make Sansa smile someday. Ooh, what do you think about that, John?
No.
No, you're not digging that at all?
No, stop.
Because you're the only one who wants to make her smile, right? Look at that big smile. Lord Ductarian, if you want to see this guy's face, if you want to see John's face, And believe me, you got to see his expressions. That is half of the humor right there. You got to go to facebook.com/behind the Iron Throne. It's a lot of fun. Or check out the YouTube, behindtheironthrone.tv. I put the podcast in after the fact. Okay, cool. Let's go to Cersei going to meet her guests. I love Dany's arrival on Drogon. That was definitely an epic part of the but I guess I was more excited to see the Hound when he went toe-to-toe with his brother, like nose to nose, and he's like, "Damn, you're uglier than I am." Ugh. So, Yardley, what are you thinking about this scene and Dany and Tyrion and Jon?
Yeah, you know what? I thought it was pretty cool that Cersei had laid her ground rules about if anything goes south, that Dany's to be killed first, Tyrion second, and Jon third, and everyone else however he pleases. I thought that was pretty funny that she would throw that out there before she heads out. And also, I think the thing that I love the most about the scene was just Cersei's composure. I mean, her poker face is unmatched. I think that she held up pretty well until the events that happened a little bit later. But I really did like that whole sequence. But of course, for me, Cersei was the highlight.
John, Cersei says if anything goes wrong, kill Dany, the silver, what do you say, the silver bitch or whatever. What are your
Silver-haired
thoughts? The
bitch.
silver-haired bitch. What do you think about that, John? How does that make you feel in your gut?
You know, I hate Cersei, and I mean, come on, like, I was actually disappointed with this whole scene because I honestly thought I thought she was gonna try something, like all of her enemies in one place. I thought she'd try and like do a setup. I guess it didn't happen because I think Drogon would have destroyed them. But I mean, yeah, like I love how she's like kill the silver-haired bitch Dany, then Tyrion, then Jon, and then whoever else you want to kill. I thought that was awesome. For me, though, what I love the most about this was the Hound meeting, the Hound and the Mountain reuniting again. We haven't seen that since season 1. The Hound's like, "You look uglier than me." I thought that was awesome, and it kind of was teasing for us fans the Clegane Bowl a little bit because all the fans want to see Clegane Bowl. So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, Chris Ennis, yay. General Tang says Clegane Bowl weigh-ins. Eric says Cersei had no ducks given. Get it? Yeah, completely stone-faced when Dany arrived. I also love that she was calling Dany out for being late. Lisa comments, first time Westeros sees a dragon in years. Cersei immediately points out that Dany is late. She is not impressed. The reason I am kind of jumping ahead and reading the comments is because I can't see the comments later on. So I'm trying to work those in as much as I can during the show. So keep them coming. I will do my very best to work them in. Andrea, what are you thinking? How are your thoughts here with the Hound meeting up with his brother? And, of course, Dany showing up late.
I actually thought Dany was a little bit of a boss for this. Cersei's this almighty queen, and, King's Landing is, her capital. And, Dany asked for the meeting, and she had the nerve to actually make Cersei wait. And we knew that Cersei was going to try to provoke Dany to doing something stupid. And so when she came at Daenerys, it was almost like an intended provocation. And Daenerys was just like, my apologies. She just kind of brushed it off like a boss. And so I think that, Cersei, just like Tyrion had promised, she was going to try to, make Daenerys lose her cool, which is why I think that the whole entire introduction was actually plotted. Euron interrupting Tyrion at first, and then, stepping all up in his face so Cersei looked like she actually genuinely cared, while she's just, trying to plot and make, her own situation work for her without, letting her enemies know. She had already made her decision before she walked into that arena. I remember the shocked look on Jaime's face when the first thing she said was, "Kill that silver-haired bitch," then my brother, and then the bastard who calls himself king in the north. Jaime, it was just like, no matter what he tells her, no matter what happened, it's never going to be enough. She just wants Tyrion dead for being dead. And you can actually see Jaime, like the tension that he was feeling in the moment that Euron started insinuating that he was an abomination and that he shouldn't be there, because Jaime still ultimately loves his brother and he wants to protect him. And now knowing that he didn't murder, Joffrey, and that he only murdered Tywin to, save himself, I think it has an impact on him. And plus, Brienne's vicinity, always makes Jaime, aware of, the decisions that he's making and whether they're wrong or right. So, I think that there's a long con in this situation going on too, and it's Cersei trying to play them. And obviously, I loved the Hound's interaction with the Mountain, because he's the first person since his change who stepped up to him and was like, "I'm still gonna kill you, bitch. Like, you're uglier than me." And I thought that was hilarious because the Hound was so insecure about it at the time. Well, until recently, and so I actually loved that the Hound made his promise and he didn't back down from the Mountain. And then when he actually chose his side, to stand on, he stood with the North. I thought that was awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely cool. And I thought it was interesting when Euron said, I'm going to go back to my island. You should do the same. We're going to wait out the winter. I believe that was how they were writing him off. I really believe that. And God, what an idiot. Anyway. Definitely do not go with what I bet on when I make a prediction. Just go the opposite.
That is so true.
Yes, and you will be okay. There was something else I wanted to mention here real quick, if I can remember it, and I cannot. Here we go. Valyria, which I love your name, by the way. I think you get a gold star every time you show up in the chat. Euron's going back to his island. That is made of rocks and has no food.
Right.
Let's see. Let's go to scene number 3. Yeah, Danielle. I was shocked at first, but then we realized later on that it was not him actually punking out, but playing a very good role. Cersei is smart, right? I mean, you got to give her some credit here. And Lena Headey, amazing job. Like, do you see how when she talks, like the way she moves her lips and it quivers at the end when she's angry, and her eyes? God. She's got to get an award. She's just phenomenal this season. I think the best she's ever been.
Yeah, she outshined everybody, in my opinion, in this episode.
Yeah, excellent. Awesome, Danielle. I love that. See, somebody was with me. The true enemy. Cersei meets a soldier in the army of the dead. We talked a little bit about that. The truce that she wants and she's not going to get. John also talks about he bent the knee already. The White, when it ran at Cersei and the Hound grabbed it and pulled it back, I was scared. I jumped out of my seat. Amazing special effects. And, of course, I don't think I've ever seen Cersei so messed up. Yardley, your thoughts on Cersei and her reaction to the White and the Stark honor?
Yeah, the White, made her raise up out of the seat. She definitely looked disturbed by what she saw. And I think probably not too long after that, she started kind of looking ahead to how could this potentially thin out her enemy's ranks. So you could definitely see the wheels turning. The visual effects were great. I thought that Euron bugging out the way that they had it written was actually kind of comical for the guy to go out like that, especially in previous scenes. We've seen that this guy is psychotic and he's been all over the world. So I thought that was just kind of funny. How he was kind of bugging out in that way, just so quickly. But I thought that Cersei did a good job by trying to take the North out of it, asking the North to extend the truce and be neutral, not to take arms against the crown. And she basically was using an attribute of the Starks, which is honor, to kind of put Jon in a bind, but she didn't really know that he'd already pledged his loyalty to his new queen.
Interesting. Eric says, with Cersei always being 3 steps ahead, do you think Tyrion or Varys is spying on Dany? I don't think so personally, at least not in the show. I don't think they have time for that. One of the other hosts can message it when it's their turn or answer it when it's their turn. Valeria says, why didn't anyone step up to save their queen when it ran at her? Anyone can answer when I call on them. Danielle says, John, I can't get over your lack of beard. It's insane. I know, right? I was saying he looks like Friar Tuck. Well,
what do I say to this?
What are your thoughts on this whole scene there, Mr. Friar Tuck Duckdarian, Lord of the Jungle?
First, the Hound and the White Walkers. Why is it so funny when a Hound is around White Walkers? This even goes back to last week when he was chucking the rock, and that one White Walker had a hard on for him. I like that Jon was announcing to everyone that he bent the knee to Dany. I thought that was awesome. And he's like his father. He's honorable like his father. He's not gonna tell a lie. I thought that was awesome. He was never gonna join the war anyways. I mean, anyone would know that the North is gonna march to fight the South. So he's worried more about the Night's King. And also what I also liked is that Jon is more like Ned. No matter what his heritage is, he's gonna be Ned Stark's son. So there's that. And Cersei didn't need to make that request. I think she was just trying to like not agree to this, and that was kind of she was doing that to be like, yeah, I know you're not gonna do that. That's why I'm doing it. So
Good points. I also agree with Danielle and a lot of other people in the chat that are saying that the reason why Dany is 3 steps ahead is because of her dad, and I feel like
Cersei, you mean?
Yeah, Cersei. She's definitely on the ball here, in my honest opinion. So that's cool. Andrea, Cersei's reaction, I'm still blown away by that. And, of course, Qyburn, right? Isn't he creepy? He's always interested in this creepy-ass shit.
Literally, I remember I think it was you, Yardley, who said out of everyone, he had the smile on his face when the dead guy came at everyone, and I thought that was hilarious because I saw the same thing. He was just like, "This is interesting. How does it work?" You know. But yeah, I would say that Cersei's reaction was genuine, but also in a split second, move like that, you've never really believed in, things like this, and you have the Hound who's like kind of looking at it like, okay, do something, like what's going on. You're not really expecting that, you know what I mean? And then something runs right at you like it was intended the whole entire time. I mean, I think Jaime and Cersei all had a reason to kind of just like bounce back, you know what I mean? And then you saw the Hound just yank him back. I don't think that the Hound would have ever allowed that thing to get at Cersei, but it was just to make the point, I did notice how they acted like the thing was infectious. The Hound was like afraid to get near it. And I was like, you do know that if he touches you or scratches you, it's not like you're going to turn into a white. It's just they have to kill you first and yada, yada. But of course they don't know that. I will say that Jon needing to be honest in order to make peace, to fight the true enemy, was actually one of my favorite scenes. And what I loved about it was that every single person there was shocked. And Tyrion didn't know, and Davos didn't know, Brienne didn't know, nobody knew, which means that Daenerys didn't share that information. And I can see why Tyrion's starting to get worried by this, because it's kind of like his job as her hand is being diminished, because she's more... Jon has he has a bit of control over her so far, not like a control, but like influence over her. And I was really kind of shocked, and this is kind of what helped me put everything together with Tyrion this whole entire episode, was this first interaction. Well, the first one was when she took off to go north, but the second interaction was right here in the Dragon Pit when when they all found out that he metaphorically bent the knee and nobody had any idea. And then let's see here. One thing that I noticed in this situation was that Cersei has demonstrated a few times in the show that she doesn't really care about the people that she wants to be the queen of. When he said 1 million more people to add to the Night King's army, Cersei responded, it would probably be an improvement for most of them. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you want to be their queen, but you don't care about being their queen. Like, Cersei is touched. She just wants to sit in that chair. How can you rule over people if there are no people? And then I really love that Brienne finally, like, she didn't expect this either, I don't think. I don't really think that half the people in the North really expect this. And then she sees it and she, comes at Jaime and she's like, fuck loyalty. This is about survival. And you see Cersei glance over there while they're talking, and she's got this little salty look because she knows, or she thinks, that Brienne loves Jaime, which is still possible. And then she's like, talk to the queen. And Jaime realizes at this point that nothing he says is going to make a difference to her. She does what she wants to do, and I think that at this point he's been like pulling away from her. So I I liked the contrast in this. And then one of our members of the club page pointed out that when the White Walker, when the white was cut in half, he began to make a spiral, which has been a theme. It's one of the symbols in the caves. It was the golden rule, and Jon was actually standing in the center of it. And I think that's pretty symbolic for Jon being central to ending the threat and restoring balance. So I wanted to give credit to Karsha and mention that.
Oh yeah, we have a great community, and right now in the chat we have so many things going on. I don't know if I can read it all. Excellent points. One of my favorites that I saw, of course, from our very own Valyria, was Qyburn was having the best day ever. Absolutely awesome. Jonathan asks, are we talking about things in the episode as they happen or in order of sequence? Just wondering. And we're pretty much talking about it as it happened in the episode, as best to our ability as possible. And I'm sure we're going to miss stuff. Andrea, are you doing a late night with the mistress?
Well, I didn't do it on Sunday. By the time I got back, it was pretty late. So if there are enough people and they want to do it, then I'm always open to it. I've been working on a timeline and some other things today. So I have time.
Awesome. Valyria makes another good point. It didn't matter what they were going to talk about. Euron could have used any excuse to peace out. Absolutely agree. Lisa also agrees. Totally agree. Valyria, unicorns and rainbows. Euron, I'm out. Yeah, I love this chat. We have such a great community. Be titties for life. All right, so there was a point I was going to make about this, but someone was talking about, somebody was making a reference to Pillow Talk with Jon. Was that the first time we've ever seen Jon full-ass naked in a sex scene?
In a sex scene, yes.
Because we didn't see that much of him when he was with Ygritte, right?
Ygritte. Mm-hmm.
I didn't think so either. All right, let's go.
No, his first naked scene was episode 1 and 2 last season.
Oh, good points. Tyrion makes a bold decision. Dany and Jon play past the jawbone, right? Yardley, what's going on with this?
I thought that was a pretty good scene as far as the past the jawbone sequence. I had said this ages ago, Chris. You remember how we used to talk about the Targaryens, and I used to always stomp my feet about there's nothing special about them fuckers except those dragons. And when Dany said that, I smiled. I was like, thank you. Thanks, Shug. You told the truth, and I loved it. But I thought that sequence was good. I mean, it was kind of over the top how Jon's aunt was ogling at him in that scene. But I thought that it worked, and I don't know what the likelihood of there still being dragon bones out there are, but I thought that was cool to see the baby dragon lower jaw.
Yeah, it is. I was pretty shocked to see that as well. I guess it was, for the show, because if I lived in that time period, knowing how cool a dragon was, whether it was stunted or not, my ass is going in there to have one as a souvenir or maybe make like a necklace. I don't know.
Yeah, to make some money,
Yeah,
sell some snake
sure.
oil with that stuff,
Sell that shit right on the street of Steel, and then you could pay for all your bowls of brown. You could maybe even buy one for poor old Gendry, who's like the new Forrest Gump of the show. John, how did you feel about the scene with Jon and Dany? Because I think that was probably what really stuck out to you, rather than Tyrion, of course, talking to his sister and all that.
I mean, it was awesome. I love Jon and Dany together. They got great chemistry. I thought they're going to kiss right there, especially when they kind of went into the private area while talking. So I thought that was going to happen. And Tyrion is brave. I mean, I also agree with Yardley. The Targaryens aren't that special without their dragons. So, and I love how she's like, you can't keep them locked. I don't know if she said you can't keep them locked up or something, but overall, I love the scene.
All right, cool. Andrea, what are your thoughts on this, the conversation? Of course, Tyrion's quote was one of the best.
Yeah, we're fucked. I really like how, Tyrion was like, sometimes you need to lie a little bit. And Jon stood up to him, I'm not going to compromise my beliefs. We're here to basically make a truce. And I'm I'm not going to make promises that I can't keep. And, you know, if everyone keeps making false promises, words start becoming useless, and they start becoming meaningless. And, you know, he never wants, you know, his word to be meaningless to somebody. He wants, you know, people to know that he respects them enough to always be honest. And I think that's one of the traits that, you know, have been presenting themselves with John this season is he's not pompous. He's not, you know, arrogant. He's not prideful. He's honest, and he wants to do the right thing no matter what. And I loved that he made it abundantly clear to Tyrion, I won't lie to get everyone what they want, you know, like I'm here to make peace. If I lie to her, that's not going to help anything. So that was one of the best things that happened in there. And then I agree with you, Yardley, you know, when she said Targaryens are only extraordinary because of their dragons. We stopped being extraordinary when we lost our dragons. And she genuinely seemed like she understood, you know, that the consequences of her family's, you know, their actions, and how, you know, the dragon pit basically was the end of, you know, at the end of them. And now she's the last. And, you know, and then John, you know, his suspicion that she can have kids because, you know, you can't always trust every source. I thought that was a really nice touch. You could see their close proximity, you know, this attraction growing between them. And then, you know, his reassurance that, you know, she's not like everyone else, which is interesting because John's not like everyone else either. So I really loved that. And then I really admire Tyrion for, you know, putting his life on the line to go and talk with his sister, knowing that she would murder him in a heartbeat.
Couple of quick comments here. Kurt says, especially when Cersei compared him to Ned, no way he was going to lie. I agree 100%. William says, if Tyrion would have died, Dany would have turned Mad Queen and burned the whole city and burned them all. Chio says, I hope I said your name properly. Robb didn't keep his word to Lord Frey, and he was Ned's son and had a bad ending. Danielle says, Robb was more cat than Ned. I could see that in a lot of ways.
Robb was more Brandon than Ned, just like Arya is more Lyanna.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Did you want to say something, John, before we moved on?
No, never mind. Just go.
Okay, so next scene we're talking about Cersei and Tyrion having their one-on-one, which I thought was very powerful. You could definitely see that Tyrion was sincere, that he did love his niece and nephew. You know, then Cersei comes around and calls her banners, at least so we think. So, Yardley, your thoughts on her quote, the big quote from Cersei, and of course the other things that have happened in this particular part of the episode.
Yeah, we got classic Cersei. I mean, when she essentially told Tyrion that Dany was his type of woman, a foreign whore who doesn't know her place, I was on the floor because she's relentless. And I think that that's another great attribute of Cersei. She's really quick on her feet of thinking up things that are going to get under somebody's skin. And, you know, in this episode, including in the previous scene, a lot of things have been tossed out there about children or not being able to have children in the last 2 or 3 episodes. So for me, I kind of think that they're giving hints of like a beeline to some type of a magical conception potentially for Dany. But I think the theme of birth and death that they have throughout this show, I don't know what any of you think, but it seems like pregnancies, even if with Cersei or if something happens with Dany, which they seem to be pointing towards, doesn't it seem a little bit too good to be true for Cersei to have a kid or for Jon and Dany to get together and have a child? It just seems like it would never play out that way for this series. It would be almost too good to be true. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
John, you want to go? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't think Cersei is going to give birth, but I think Dany will die. Like me and Andrew said, I think Dany's going to die giving birth. So there's that.
I hope she doesn't die. I don't think Cersei's going to give birth. I think that when the Whites get down south, I think it's game over. Lord Bags, yay! He said, "What's up, all? What y'all? Who's the babyface dude in the middle?" Oh, that's our very own Friar Tuck, Lord Bags. Yes, you should never have shaved, John. I'm just saying. All right, John, what are your thoughts on this scene?
I thought it was amazing. I mean, if Leah Henley doesn't win an Emmy or Golden Globe, you'd be ashamed because she was so great this episode and this season. Her and Tyrion are great together as usual. Tyrion loves Cersei's kids. There's no question about that. And her blaming Tyrion for the kids dying, it wasn't his fault. It's your fault. And you won't admit it, okay? Yes, he killed Tywin, but it's still your fault that the kids are dead. And then Tyrion finding out that Cersei is pregnant, I think that changed everything. I think something was said off camera to kind of do this fake alliance. So we'll see. And Cersei had a chance to kill Tyrion with the mountain, and she didn't. So maybe she doesn't really want Tyrion dead. Who knows?
Do you really believe that there's a fake that Tyrion knew about that? Do you think that he really would do that?
Do what?
He would, let Cersei walk back there and make a fake truce and alliance with
Not
him?
a fake truce, but I'm thinking they made some kind of deal to, like, it's fake. Cersei knows it's fake, but Tyrion doesn't. And I think, how do you go from no to how to yes without? I'm thinking something was said beyond off camera that Tyrion made some kind of deal with Cersei to keep this kind of alliance that he thinks is real but is really fake. So that's what I'm thinking.
Like maybe a marriage pact between Jaime and Dany, or no, that wouldn't work. I'm trying to think of that.
I'm thinking it's.
Remember that look at the end that Dany or that Tyrion gives the door that Jon goes in to give Dany the flip flop. He looks at it like there's. I don't know. It just seems strange.
I think I think what Cersei wanted Tyrion to do is make sure that Dany and Jon doesn't hook up, because I think the natural, if you're looking at things and you're a strategist, you're going to automatically think that somehow Dany and Jon are going to marry to align themselves. So I think Cersei's telling Tyrion, you can't allow a marriage to happen. You can't allow them to have kids. And I think that is and that's why he kind of had that look on his face when Jon went in.
Eric made a good point. What if Cersei were to become the Night Queen?
No.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. William says, are the Sand Snakes still alive? No, they are dead.
We don't know. Well, not all of them.
Yeah,
we don't know about all of them.
Yeah, two of them we know are dead. We saw them. What was that? In the middle of the season? This season's
episode 2.
Oh yeah, holy shit, that's right. That was a
Holy
powerful
crap.
episode. All right, Andrea, you're up. If you wanted to answer Yardley's previous questions, and of course any comments you have on this scene would be great.
I do actually, Yardley. I think that there's going to be magic in play, but I think that the price has already been paid. Only death can pay for life. Viserion had a stronger bond to Daenerys, and I don't mean like because she was going to ride him. He was mostly her son, and he was the first dragon to hatch. And I think that her losing him beyond the wall kind of goes back to the vision that she had with Drogo beyond the wall and her son being with him. And I think that Viserion's death paid for a possible life. A couple of our group members made a point the other week that when coyotes or wolves lose a member of their pack, the female automatically goes into heat to replace it. And we have a strong bond between Daenerys and her dragons where she feels like they're her children. And it's possible that, this loss is what sparks her ability to have babies again. And Giselle and I have always been talking about this, and we've said the same thing before we even knew what was happening. So it's definitely possible. A couple of things that I really liked about this scene was, Jaime talking to Tyrion in the hall where he's like, I spoke at Cersei, and she called me an idiot, which she's been doing for a long time. She always undermines Jaime and, tries to play on his guilt like she did with Joffrey, like she did with Olenna, telling him that everything was all his fault. So he feels guilty, blaming him for Tywin's death because at least Tyrion meant to kill their father. So she's really good at manipulating Jaime, and this is another attempt for her to manipulate him. But then Tyrion was like, I'm going into the room with a woman who, Olenna called her an idiot, then Cersei calls him an idiot. So it seemed to have been a theme this season. So maybe Jaime knows nothing too. and then he says, "Well, I guess we should say goodbye, one idiot to another." And I just thought to myself, this is classic Jaime and Tyrion, where you can definitely see the love between the two of them still. And then whatchamacallit, let's see here. Then there was, Tyrion entering, trying to reason with Cersei, and then her distaste for him was just so apparent, not letting him talk, blaming him for everything. So then, he, instigates her and, dares her to have him killed. And she, you could tell, like, at first she was really happy about, the dare, and then she just couldn't do it in the end because she knew he had valid points. And also, I think if she had killed Tyrion, that it would have definitely triggered Daenerys, and that would have violated their peace agreement, or the the peace agreement that they had for this meeting. So she had to make a decision not to kill her brother when inside she actually really wanted to. And then, the Mountain not actually carrying out the sentence, and Tyrion's reaction to that was so genuine. And then at this point, it was really interesting to me. He goes, "What did you want to happen?" And she goes, "What did you want? For Jon Snow to bend the knee?" And he goes, "Yes, but not like this." And so that was my first hint that he wanted Jon and Daenerys to have a specific alliance, but he didn't want it to happen with Jon actually bending the knee. That's my speculation, obviously. And then another point, I said earlier, Cersei made it abundantly clear that she doesn't care about the people. And then in this conversation, she says, hang the world. When I saw that thing coming for me, all I could think about is keeping those gnashing teeth away from the ones I love most, away from my family. That was absolutely the second time she just said, "Fuck everyone else. I only care about me." So I'm just still thinking, Cersei, why do you want to be queen again? Then obviously they go off screen after she, convinces Tyrion that she's pregnant, because she was totally playing him in that scene. She wasn't, she wasn't trying to hide her pregnancy or possible pregnancy. She was using it to play on his sympathies so that he, wouldn't suspect anything. And then she made a promise that she didn't intend to keep, and Tyrion fell right for it because, you know how he feels about his nieces and his nephews and his family. Even though him and Cersei hate each other, he, loves his nieces and his nephews. So I felt like it was a powerful scene. You could obviously tell Cersei was playing him. I loved the dialogue between them, and you're definitely getting a better sense of the person that Cersei is as far as being a queen, and she is something else.
Yeah, a lot of great points. I tell you, I was kind of worried that Tyrion was going to meet his end at that moment. I could have sworn, because Cersei had that look. God damn, she did a great job acting this. Absolutely awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go to, where are we now? My boy Littlefinger is teaching Sansa some new lessons. Boy, oh boy, when I finally get to see my guy Peter Baelish behave the way he's supposed to, and it all came to naught. So Yardley, what are your thoughts on this con?
You know what, this scene, I think more or less it was more of a short con. I think that this was the moment that Sansa knew that Littlefinger was trying to divide her and her sister. Up until that point, Littlefinger's plan was working. And Sansa knows that Arya doesn't want to be the Lady of Winterfell. Too easy. Littlefinger gave her a layup, and he ended up paying the price.
Oh, yeah. What did he say? What was that thing he was talking about, John? He was trying to teach her. What was that lesson?
I tried. I'm not gonna try, but it's like I try to think of. Andrew knows it, but the con is almost over. Peter, you're dying. Sansa's setting you up, and you're just taking it, man. She set you up, you take it. I've been saying this from first episode on. There's been a con at play here, and it's almost over. Sansa's amazing in this scene. She did not let up once, so she just wanted that final confirmation. And Peter, lies and tricks only get you so far. Peter, you're dying.
All right, so maybe Andre can answer my question, because I can't remember exactly what he was talking about, the lesson. I just remember listening to him talking to Sansa about the lesson about, I see what they want in my mind, and I guess their motivation or whatever. And it seemed to me like he was working at convincing her that she needed to have her sister taken care of. And I thought that she was buying it, especially because in the last episode, and I think even the episode before that, we saw a little bit of tension between Sansa and Arya. What are your thoughts on this particular scene?
I didn't buy the tension between Arya at all, actually.
Me neither.
Arya and Sansa at all. What he said was, sometimes when I'm trying to understand a person's motivations, I play a little game. I imagine the things that the worst possible solution, how, why, and how and why people do the things that they do. So he said, so tell me, what is the worst possible thing that Arya could want? So Sansa's over here, she's obviously fishing for him to say something that's going to slip up. The first thing he does is, try to suggest that Sansa has Jon unnamed, which is treason. The second thing he does is try to convince her that Arya wants to murder her. But he screwed himself over because when when she was drawing all these conclusions, he said, "And if you're dead, what does that make her?" And she was like, the Lady of Winterfell. Well, Arya and her just covered this last week. She doesn't want to be the Lady of Winterfell. She handed Sansa the knife, saying, all I need is your face, but I don't want it. If Arya wanted to be Lady of Winterfell, all she had to do was take Sansa's face. She didn't have to, provide proof of why she killed Sansa. All she had to do was take Sansa's face and be Sansa.
Andrea,
and Sansa knows this.
Didn't you see you guys didn't see the tension in that scene, or was I just completely mistaken?
I totally think that Sansa was playing Littlefinger and she was acting like she was scared. Sansa's learned a lot of lessons.
Long con, man.
No, I'm talking about the tension between Arya and Sansa with that knife scene.
There was visible tension, but they were playing the lying game.
Yeah.
Arya told her things that were true, how she's a faceless man and she can talk in their voices and share their memories and all of these things and be different people. That was the truth. And then she says, I wonder what it would like to be the Lady of Winterfell, to wear those pretty dresses. All I would need was your face. That was a lie. She was playing the lying game. And then she handed Sansa the knife and she gave her back, basically saying, I trust you not to stab me in it. And I don't want to be the Lady of Winterfell. It was all part of the lying game. And every single time you saw Lord Baelish this season, there was always a crow squawking in the background. I mean, he was being set up.
Oh, yeah. Bran was watching. Creeper. No, but the tension I was talking about was I thought that there was tension between Sansa and Arya, and they were kind of building up to this crescendo of. Well, later on we'll get to that, but yeah, that's what I was talking about. Let's see. Eric says they outsmarted him only because of Bran. I almost read my own comment because I'm a jackass. Valeria says laugh out loud when she says the words that Arya wants to be a Lady of Winterfell. I laughed out loud at how badly he fucked up. Okay, moving on. Jon and company make plans for defending the North. Theon and Jon have a chat. Theon's victory, smiley face.
Smile.
Wow, definitely smiley. I'll tell you, the conversation between Jon and Theon was nice. Yardley, what were your thoughts on these two characters actually having a real heart-to-heart?
Yeah, the highlight of the episode for me. You're a Greyjoy and you're a Stark. And I thought that was pretty cool because it parallels Jon being a Stark and a Targaryen. And it's kind of funny because Theon was giving Jon a lot of accolades about how he saw that he had made a lot of good decisions going back to when they were young. Even though Jon let him know that he hasn't always made good decisions, you could tell that Theon kind of had him on a little bit more of a pedestal of all of the kids that were there. One of the things in the book and even on the show, Robb was kind of the opposite. He was always telling Theon that he wasn't a Stark and that, reminding him that he was a Ward and kind of coming down on him. And those types of things ended up making Theon, the person that he was earlier on in this story. But it was definitely a great scene. I mean, I bought it head to toe, and I do love the fact that Theon was on the verge of wanting to ask Jon for help, and Jon pretty much put him in a position where he had to do what he needed to do to solve his own problems. And I thought that was great. So, and outside of that, also Theon ends up winning that battle by default to save his sister. So it's kind of cool that he seems to be on a path to meet Euron, and we'll see what happens.
John, what are your thoughts here? And didn't you think? I think his name is Ralphie. Didn't he do a phenomenal job as Theon, whether you like the character or not?
He did a great job, and I kind of like Theon now. He over time he redeemed himself in my eyes. This scene was awesome. First off, setting the plans in motion to go north. I hope someone's leading that Dothraki army, because leaving them alone to get there is, I mean, that's disaster. Who knows what they'll do? I love that Drogon is telling Danny, you need to fly with Drogon. I mean, instead of taking a boat, I'm sensing a little jealousy there. That he doesn't want a long boat ride with John and Danny. That's when I kind of got that feeling, and the influence that John has with Danny, Tyrion, and Jorah starting to see that. So that's awesome. I love John telling Theon, "You're a Greyjoy and a Stark." I thought that was amazing, and that he's telling him that Ned's a part of you, has he of himself. I thought that was awesome, and that's gonna. And no matter that he's a Targaryen or not, he's gonna be Ned Stark's son. Ned Stark raised him, even though he's a bastard. He still raised him. He's gonna be a Stark no matter what, in my opinion. Targaryen, that's his bloodline. And Theon fighting on the beach was awesome. When the guy goes to kick him in the groin, and he just keeps kicking him, and Theon's like, "Yeah, there's nothing there," and he wins that fight, and he's gonna go try and save his sister, and I think he's gonna kill Euron. So that's awesome.
How does that hurt, though? I mean, I think that would still hurt, even if you didn't have any.
I think it hurts, but it doesn't hurt. I don't think it hurts as much if nothing there. I mean, I don't know. It's Westeros. Huh?
Even though there's nothing there, he was still getting hit hard.
Yeah, he's got a pelvis bone down there.
But, whatever.
Well, he was getting his face mashed. Maybe it was the heat of the moment.
There's adrenaline. There's adrenaline flowing through him. He's fighting for his sister.
Yeah. For some reason, John, every time I look in the picture, you remind me of a little testicle.
Why?
Hey, and also keep in mind that the other guy was out of shape because he had his hands on his knees and he was gassed as well. So
sorry, John, but Friar Tuck, Friar Tuck, look, you got to grow your beard back, buddy. You look like somebody else. You don't look like you're supposed to be on the show. You look like somebody else. I love you to death, buddy, but holy cow, you're like Varys right now on our show. You can powder your face and you can be anybody you'd like, and make sure you smell really good. But thank you, Andrea, also for letting me know that it's Alfie Allen, not Ralphie. That was the guy from that Christmas movie. Never mind. Moving right along. Andrea, it's your turn anyway, so I'm curious to know what you think.
I've been following the breadcrumbs this episode. So Jon and Dany, Jorah and Grey Worm, Tyrion, Theon, etc. make plans to go north. Jorah tries to convince Dany to fly because she has many enemies in the north, which I thought was a little bit interesting because the whole entire north knows that Jon went to Daenerys for an alliance. So I don't understand where Jorah got this information from. But Jon convinces her that if they're allies, that they should be seen as allies. And Dany ultimately chooses to sail with Jon. And you could see that Jorah and Tyrion both feel like Jon's influence is, they can feel Jon's influence over Dany. And then there was that little moment where Dany had a girl moment, like, I made my decision. That's it. This is going to happen, And this, again, leads me to believe that Tyrion's starting to wonder about, his effectiveness at her hand, because we just had a conversation between him and Varys about how she needs somebody to, to help her, not be her father. And it was like putting, pressure on Tyrion. Like, if you're not the guy, then I'll find somebody else who will. Not that Varys really has a say, but it was kind of like subtle. And so I think that Tyrion is actually taking note of these things now because he's worried that he's going to lose his positive influence over her and she might do something reckless. And then I actually loved, I agree with you, Yardley. I loved the conversation, and John, with Theon and Jon. I think that this is something that actually had to happen for Theon. He got the pep talk from Yara, but he needed to have the pep talk from somebody who actually knew who he is. And, Jon, this is a great reason why Jon is proving himself a capable leader, because, he forgives what he can, but not what's not his responsibility. But as a king, he can forgive almost everything. But, Theon needed to know that, he's punishing himself more than anybody else is punishing him at this point. And Theon has always kind of been really struggling with the idea of his identity, doing what he did to Robb and, going back to his father and taking Winterfell. And, having this confirmation, especially from Book Theon, who said his father lost his head in King's Landing. This was kind of like a callback to that book reference and, Jon confirming him. And I agree with you, Yardley, too. Him saying, you don't have to choose. You're a Stark and you're a Targaryen. I mean, you're a Stark and you're a Greyjoy was definitely kind of like some advice that Jon's going to be needing to take in the future. You don't have to choose. Ned's in you. He's always going to be a part of you. So I really liked the sense of like strength that this conversation seemed to impart on Theon. And at the end when he was talking about going and saving Yara because she tried to come and save him, you have Jon like, well, then why are you still talking to me? Like, quit bullshit and don't talk about it. Be about it. That's your sister. You know what I mean? Jon would have done anything to save his sister, and he planned on it, at the end of A Dance with Dragons, and even, last season with the Battle of Bastards, he didn't want to go to war, but he did, So I really liked that. And then down on the beach, Theon's victory smile was everything to me. I've been saying this all week. Not for me, for Yara. And everyone's been laughing.
That's funny.
And I really love that because they all agreed to go and get Yara after the fact. And then Theon was actually, I really felt like Theon was reborn in this moment. He finally, accepted his fears. He admitted what he had done wrong. He, realizes that, he's been his own worst enemy all this time. He finally fought for something that he believed in, his sister, and he was reborn, and he's Ironborn. And so what is dead may never die. And the first thing that he did was go to the ocean and touch the salt water and wash his face in it. And I thought, what a great way to symbolize that he's been reborn. So I really loved that scene. It was probably easily one of my favorite scenes.
I bet that would have hurt, though, when he put the salt water in his face with all the cuts that he had.
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to go, that hurt, that stings, ouch. But in the chat room, everybody is saying they want Jon's beard back. And Marianne just said, the North remembers Jon's beard. And I got to say, you look like a Lannister more than ever before, pal.
No, stop this, people.
Yeah. Welcome to the lion side, baby.
Never. See the shirt.
Lannisters
Never.
Don't pay their debts, Jon.
Never.
Danielle says. That's awesome. All right, so let's go to Cersei reveals her big plans to Jaime. Jaime's doing his thing. He's like, okay, we're going to take this guy here, and we're going to bring this guy over here. We're going to head up north, and we're going to bring some food, and we got all this stuff. Jaime's doing his job. He's all into it, getting ready to fight for the living. And then Cersei's like, what are you doing, jackass? You're a stupid fuck. Yardley, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a great scene, but something that stood out to me was the way that Cersei signaled her eyes to Sir Gregor to be at the ready. She did that with Jaime, but she also did it in earlier in the episode with Tyrion, where she'll flash her eyes, he'll pull the sword out. And I guess that he actually has to hear the word kill him to do something. But that was one of the best moments of the episode for me, because the tension was there where you actually thought that Jaime might be on his way out.
Oh, I thought so too. And Marianne thought as well.
too.
I'm so glad. Jon, you said something in the last episode about redemption without killing his sister. And if anyone who's been listening to the podcast knows, a few episodes ago, maybe 20, 30 episodes ago, you were all kinds of hot and bothered that the only way Jaime could redeem himself is if he killed his sister through murder, which doesn't seem like a very stark thing to say. But that's because you're really a Lannister. Why don't you tell us your thoughts about the redemption for Jaime?
Jaime's redeemed in my eyes. There, I said it. I still think if it's, I always thought he had to kill Cersei for the good of the kingdom to kind of redeem himself. But I guess in a way something did die, and that was the love between Jaime and Cersei, because I don't think there's love there anymore. I don't think Jaime loves Cersei anymore. Man, the look on his face when he's like, we're all that's left. It's only the two of us. And the way the look on his face when Gregor pulls out that sword, and I'm like, oh my God. And then he walks away. I thought that was awesome. And it's just, I mean, Jaime knows what's the right thing to do, no matter what Cersei says. It's like, we have to go there to fight. They're going to come afterwards. And why do you need the Golden Army? I mean, he's not taking the Lannister army. Why do you need the Golden Army for? Where's your enemies? I mean, I think at this point she's batshit crazy. She's starting to create enemies in her own mind. Like, what kingdoms are you gonna go after to retake? I mean, they're all in the north. So, I mean, you didn't go into Dorne. Dorne has no leadership. The Reach. I mean, come on. So you're just creating enemies at this point, and it shows how much selfish Cersei is. No matter what you see this thing, you're still want to rule. So you're not going to help out. So you're going to rule until there's nothing left. So, and you don't care about the people at all. Jaime's heading north. He's bringing over another Valyrian steel sword. So that makes about 4 Valyrian swords and a Valyrian steel knife. I wonder now, with both halves of ice, whether ice will be reforged, and I'm wondering if Jaime will give up Widow's Wail because he'll be back in Winterfell. So I thought that was awesome. And I'll say one thing: I wonder if Bronn will join him. Because if Bronn and Cersei can't be in scenes together, I'm wondering if Bronn's going to go with him north as well, considering everything. And one of my favorite scenes was when he sees the snowflake fall, and you get the shot of really dark Westeros, and that's the slow intro music is playing, the really slow intro music playing, and you're seeing all like it's all dark and gloomy and stuff. So I thought that was one of my favorite scenes.
Randall made a good question. There's a couple of questions here. I'm trying to get to them all. One of them is from Marianne. What will happen when Jaime meets up with Bran? Will maybe Bran push him out a fucking window? Oh, he can't. He's crippled and he can't roll around too fast. And Randall asked another cool question. Do you think that Dany will be upset with Jaime, knowing that Jaime stabbed her daddy in the back? So let's go to Andrea. What do you think about this scene here? Cersei basically telling Jaime stupid and almost killing him, and some of the questions that I presented in the chat. Your thoughts?
I think that Cersei just keeps showing her true colors. Like I said, she's been working on a way to manipulate Jaime. I really left a bad taste in my mouth when she walked in and she goes, "I always knew you were the stupidest Lannister." But he wasn't that stupid, because he had finished his plans with his generals or his lieutenants before they walked away. And they're all going to meet at Lord Harroway's town. He excused them after making their plans to march to Winterfell. So unless she got to his generals, the Lannister generals, because Jaime is technically the Lord of Casterly Rock. As long as he's commanding the Lannister army, there's nothing she can actually do about it. So, I mean, he did get the upper hand in this situation. But, I always knew that you were the stupidest Lannister, and then either you're an idiot or you're a traitor. She just kind of throw these words around because she knows that Jaime would basically do anything for her, and I don't think that she cares whether she pushes him away, or at least she thinks that she doesn't care if he she pushes him away. I think ultimately she just thinks that she's going to be able to to manipulate him even more. This was just another example of that. And then this is the second time in one day that a brother has, basically provoked her to kill him. And I think that at this point she was just like, fuck it, one more person. So yeah, let's do this. And then she realized that she didn't actually want him dead. And that makes me wonder if she's actually pregnant or not, or she's just hoping that she gets pregnant by keeping Jaime around. So when she paused and she hesitated and Jaime walked away from her, I really felt like that really took a lot of guts for him, because the mountain is pretty freaking imposing. And she kind of chased him to the edge of the painted room, and she realized at that point that she had lost him, and she has nobody to blame but herself. And then I also thought, the idea of her going to get the Golden Company, and they are basically only 20,000 people with elephants and such, but You have dragons. What are your elephants going to do? And
Stevie.
there are only 20,000 people to Daenerys's 80,000 army of 80,000 people, plus John's army of 20,000 people, not counting all the Knights of the Vale and what they could get from possibly Edmure Tully if he got out of those cells. You know what I mean? And Daenerys had some soldiers from the Loot Train battle, swear fealty to her, so she added more people to her army. I think that Cersei is, I think that she's overestimating what she actually can do in this situation. And Tyrion was right. She's fighting a losing battle, and she's just not getting it. Somebody wins, they're coming south. If it's the Northerners and Daenerys, they're coming south to murder everyone. If it's the White Walkers, they're coming south to murder everyone. And she's just like, basically, I don't care. They already want to murder us. Okay, but what is the point of getting an army to defend you if you're not going to win anyways? You know what I mean? Cersei is she's just not very humble, and she's just not very clear on the rules that are going on. And I mean, don't get me wrong, she's clever, she's calculating, but she's just kind of off of her seat right now.
Oh, great points. John, I know you have a follow-up question. We'll get to that in just a second, but we had a comment from Kurt I wanted to get in here before I lost it. Jaime putting the black glove over his gold hand, like he's taking the black, joining the fight to battle the army of the dead, and be the shield that guards the realms of men. I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John, with your question and your comment.
So it's kind of both in the same. So she says, "I'm gonna take the Golden Company. I'm gonna retake the kingdom." I mean, so let's look at the kingdom. There's no one in the Stormlands. She pretty much took care of the Reach already. The Vale is in the north. You got the Twins, the Riverlands. I'm wondering, do you guys, and I'll open this to everyone, do you think she's going to take the Golden Company into Dorne and try to take Dorne? And we can introduce maybe the whatever Danes are left or something? Because I can't see her, like, who is he truly go after?
I don't see it. Only reason I say that, John, is I just don't think we have the time. Although D&D have done a phenomenal job getting a lot of information and a lot of great scenes squeezed in.
But to counter that, so everyone's going to be north essentially, with the exception of Theon, Euron, and Cersei. What's her story? What's her scenes going to be next season? Like, how do you have six episodes, and she's just going to be in the King's Landing? Like, I mean, I got to think there's going to be something for her. If everyone's in the north getting ready for the Night's King, what's her storyline? I got to think maybe it's going into Dorne.
Well, I think that it was either you or somebody else that didn't think she was going to have much of a storyline this season, that she was going to die. I think your prediction was episode 1 of season 7 or 2, and she made it all the way to the end, buddy.
No, I said next year she's going to die at episode 2.
I don't know.
I mean, what's her arc left if everyone's in the north? I mean, is she just going to, like, sit on that Iron Throne and just twiddle her thumbs? Like, you got the Golden, she's bringing the Golden Company here. I mean, we know that Theon's arc is going to be trying to get her sister back, so that's going to involve Euron. But I mean, like, what's her arc going to be? Maybe she goes into Dorne.
I'll tell you what you should do. Write this down. We'll make a whole episode of it, because it's a whole episode worth of arguing. All right, buddy?
Yes.
You and I can do a tag team argument. It'll be great. Everyone can listen to it. You can check out everything we do at BehindTheIronThrone.com, and make sure you join our Facebook group, Club BTIT. It's easy to find, and also join our Facebook page, facebook.com/BehindTheIronThrone. I also want to mention this should be the last time I'm recording in the satellite studio. My new studio should be ready by the time we record the next episode, which may not be this weekend. It may be the following weekend. We'll see. I'm going to try to do it this weekend. I'm going to try really hard. Okay, let's move on to the next scene. Next scene is Sansa holds court in the Great Hall. Trial begins and ends. All I can say is, holy shit, Peter Baelish's face was priceless. It was priceless. Yardley, what do you think of this scene, buddy? And I think he might be muted. In the meantime, thank you, Marianne. I really appreciate the congratulations on my new house. Oh, Yardley's power surged.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
I just wanted to say we had a comment in chat that says #Beards Lives Matter too.
Oh my god!
That's awesome. Oh, that's
Wait till I
awesome.
shave my head. Oh my god!
Yardley had to reboot He'll be back in a moment. I just want to mention that all of the proceeds, we appreciate everybody staying with us, all the BTidians. Your support means everything to us. When you subscribe to our Patreon, not only are you helping us stay in business by keeping the equipment and all the lights on, but for all the money we made in August, we're going to be donating it to everybody that's been devastated by the Hurricane Harvey. So just keep that in mind. We're going to be taking all the money that my studio has made for the month of August, and we're going to be donating it to the people that lost lives, that have lost all their homes. It's just absolutely devastating. In the meantime, while we're waiting for John to come back, let's talk about this
Well, I'm right
particular
here.
scene. You're here to go, John. So let's hear what you think about Sansa's court in the Great Hall.
I'm not gonna go crazy like I did Sunday. That's out of my system. I've waited 6 seasons to see Peter paid for betraying my boy Ned Stark, and I love this. This is awesome. This is satisfaction for me. The season was amazing. The con is complete. Goodbye, Peter. I mean, you survived long. I'll give you that. But you're full of shit. You say you love Cat, but did you even try to revenge the Red Wedding? No. What you did was you sold Sansa to the family that murdered Cat, the person you say you loved. So you're complete bullshit. I mean, it's only fitting he dies using the dagger that he used to put to Ned's throat. And it's fitting he died on his knees crying like a little bitch that he is, because that's what he always has been. I mean, you know, what more can I say? He deserved to die. You know, I love this scene. It was awesome. He tried to beg for your life. It didn't happen. It was awesome. And I love the fact that Arya just that little quick little cut. It was awesome.
Yeah, like she's like, I'm tired of hearing you talk. Now, Kurt says, very rewarding watching him grovel for his life. This is something I always liked Peter because he was the creeper. Well, not because he was a creeper, but because of the way he tried to manipulate the situation. I thought he was a great villain behind the scenes of the other villains, if that makes sense. And I think that the way he died was pretty fitting for his character.
Yeah.
The look on his face, like he just ate a shit sandwich. He's like, ha ha ha, what? And of course, the red smile he got at the end. Arya's just like, I'm done talking to you. Andre, your thoughts? And did you pin a comment in the chat?
I didn't pin a comment in the chat that I guess I did no, it wasn't me.
That must have been me by accident.
This scene was well played out, and it's obvious from the beginning that it's actually not Arya that's being sentenced, because it's all really in the wording. Arya comes in, she's escorted by 2 guards. She looks back at them. They both leave her side, and if she was actually up for trial, they would have stood behind her to make sure she didn't make any sudden moves. She looked back to the guards that were standing by the door. They waited for her cue. They closed the door and then moved up to block any exits. She looks at Sansa. She says, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And Sansa says, "It's not what I want. It's what honor demands." Okay, well, what does honor demand? Honor demands that I protect my family, from those who would do us harm, that I protect the North from those who would betray us. And then Arya says, "Well, all right, get on with it." She's not scared. This is all just a ploy. And so Sansa, being the Lady of Winterfell, starts to list off the charges, and then she looks at the person and she, announces their name. And it was really funny because Littlefinger's sitting there in that corner and he's all smug and whatnot. And then Arya goes, "My sister asked you a question." And he was like completely dumbfounded. He was like, "Wait, excuse me, what?" And then it was just watching Sansa hit him with like every single fact. Which one are you confused about? Let's start with the simplest. You murdered my Aunt Lysa, our Aunt Lysa. I was trying to protect you. You were trying to seize power of the Vale. Then before that, you gave my Aunt Lysa tears of lease to murder Jon Arryn. Whatever Lysa told you, she was crazy and yada, yada, yada. You had her send a letter to my mother and father. Boom. He's just like, "I know of no such letter." You conspired with Joffrey and Cersei to, charge my father with treason, and he ended up losing his head. Do you deny it? I deny it. None of you were there. She just kept hitting him. And then Bran comes in with the okey doke. you put a knife to his throat and you told him, I told you not to trust me. And then it was just kind of like over at that point. He realized that he had fucked up. You know, he was copping pleas. He was trying to get Sansa alone. It reminded me of the time where Jorah was like, Daenerys, can I just talk to you alone? And Barristan was like, you'll never be alone with her again. I was waiting for somebody to say this. And then there was that famous line, whenever I try to imagine, whenever I try to to understand a person's motives, I play a little game. And she just kind of just kept hitting him with it. And it was just really gratifying to see Arya like stalk up behind him. Thank you for your lessons. I'll never forget them. And then next thing you know, his just throat is wide open and he's dying on the floor. And also, we know that she can kill people first. I really hope she takes his face.
Ooh, how cool. Oh, you know what? I think somebody predicted, and I know this is not a prediction episode, but that just sparked a thought. Andrea, you are brilliant. I love you to death, girl. Imagine she takes Peter Baelish's face, goes down south, and says, "Oh, hey, Cersei, remember me? I'm trying to help you out with it." Dead, killed, murdered.
And if we're just jumping into it, did we cover Bran yet?
We did not, and I don't see Yardley popping back in. So let's go to Bran. And oh wait, John, did you have a follow up real quick?
Yeah, really quick. I just want to mention. Notice that the Royce or any of the Vale men kind of like they didn't like argue it or anything. They knew right off they hated Peter right off the bat. So there's that, and there's a little bit of parallel here between. So Tyrion was submitted with Dany, which caused him to kind of not be very smart when it came to his strategic plans. We talked about that in the past, but you can also say that Peter's love for Sansa clouded him to the point where he didn't see this coming. So I just want to make that really quick.
Yardley, you made it back. We were just talking about the scene with Peter Baelish and his three-eyed blink, and he's like, "I'm so confused." Mercy.
Yeah, you know what? I thought that whole scene was pretty well played. I had posted something in one of the groups. I think it was the Master of Whispers that had an interview with is it Isaac Hempstead Wright, who plays Bran, and he pretty much revealed the scene that was cut where Sansa asked Bran for help. And he reveals all that he knew about Littlefinger up to that point. And then Arya was informed, and the plot to judge Littlefinger was pretty much set. And I thought that it was only right that Littlefinger died with the same dagger that he had to Ned Stark's throat. I mean, it was justice, incarnate. And we found out later in the episode, in Bran's scene with Sam, that if Bran is given a piece of a puzzle, he can go back and see it. So Littlefinger triggered Bran's green sight about what happened with Ned when he tried to give him that dagger. And unknowingly, that gesture was what ultimately ended up killing him.
Yeah, a lot of people are mentioning in the chat that they're very smitten with you, Andrea, and your amazing ability to retain and find all these details. So, we love you. You know that, right? Our very own Mistress of Whispers.
I definitely am feeling the love. All of the shout outs in the page where people are like, I'm confused, Andrea, where are you at? It's just really humbling. And I've gotten a lot of like instant messages lately from people who are listen to us, but haven't really, joined the community yet. And they're like, I listened to it for you. And Elizabeth, I believe, said it to me that she's at home all the time and she listened to our podcast in her earphones. And whenever I get to, talking about, how I interpret things, she's always like, yes, girl, yes. And I thought to myself, this is the reaction I want to have with our listeners. I want them to feel like, we're girlfriends or I'm a really close friend and we're sitting around having a conversation about something that we love. And it's really humbling, and you guys are fantastic. And we couldn't ask for a better community. I love you guys.
Well, if people stick around, we have a lot more stuff planned in the off season, especially Andrea, with all kinds of stuff, with more information from you. Without my team, basically, if I didn't have my team right now, we wouldn't have a show. I can't do this by myself. I'm a terrible podcaster. Are you kidding me? Let's move over to Bran gets a visitor, which was awesome, and we get to see some boat sex. Oh, somebody gets to ride the dragon. Yardley, go ahead, buddy.
Now we're talking about Samuel Tarly
Yes.
showing up. Yeah, you know what? That was actually a great interaction. I liked it a lot. It pretty much, I think I heard someone say that Bran is the internet and Sam is like Google. So I'm very excited to see what their interactions are going to be going forward with that. And I thought the montage that they had with Bran's flashback, the secret ceremony, was pretty cool, where they kind of intertwined him saying that he didn't kidnap my aunt or rape her, he loved her. And those scenes kind of coincided with Jon actually having sex with his aunt that he's in love with. So I thought that was well played by D&D. And going back when we were talking about Tyrion and that look that he was giving in a previous scene, when Tyrion was talking to Cersei, he said that she wanted an advisor who would check her impulses instead of feeding them. So I think that when he saw that them having sex might complicate things, I think that worried him a little bit.
John, your thoughts, buddy?
Oh man, I've been waiting for this scene forever. First off, you gotta love Sam. I love Sam. He just walks in there. He's so awesome. He's like, Samuel Tarly, you're a good man. I was like, I don't know. And then they're talking, and then he's like, no, he's like, he's not a snow, he's a sand. And he's like, no, he's not. I was like, that's what they call Bastion Door. No, and then he explains the whole alignment. I thought that was awesome. I thought the flashback, I mean, I've been waiting for flashbacks all season. The fact that we only got one was a little bit disappointing, but I mean, I love to see the flashback merging with the lovemaking scenes. And, you know, I've been waiting for Dany and Jon to make love all year, so this is awesome. It was beautiful. She's pregnant right after this. I'm telling you, she's gonna have little baby Eddard's gonna be born, and you know, I love it. Tyrion, I don't know, that look on his face, a little bit of jealousy, maybe a little bit of I gotta break these guys up, you know, something like that. So overall, boat sex is awesome. I mean, it's, you know, we finally got finally someone other than Bran knows who Jon really is, and then Sam now knows he's Aegon Targaryen, even though I still think he's going to keep the name Jon. So, you know, I love this scene.
All right, awesome. Go ahead, Andrea, you're up, my darling.
I almost forgot that this scene was going to happen because the episode had been so long. So when it actually popped up, I was like, oh my God, Sam, I forgot this was going to happen. This is it. This is it. This is going to happen. I was so freaking out, right?
Me and you both, girl.
And Sam walks in and he's like, Samuel Tarly. And he's like, oh, you remember me? I wasn't sure. I remember everything. What happened to you beyond the wall? I'm the three-eyed crow. I became the three-eyed crow. Oh. I don't know what that means. I mean, he was just so accepting of it. I mean, Sam's adorable, and he's like, I know Jon is the one to lead us in the fight for in the Great War. And I thought to myself, everyone should be taking note of this. Jon is the one to lead the fight. He is Azor Ahai, or he's the prince that was promised. Who knows? But he is Azor Ahai, and you know, everyone seems to be the general consensus. Like I said, he was in that spiral in the center, proving that he's central to whatever it takes to make the balance. And then, you know, Bran's all, I have to tell him, you know, the truth about who he is. And he's like, huh? He's like, he's not really my father's son. He's not really my father's son. He's the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and my aunt Lyanna Stark. He was born in Dorne. His last name, he's not Jon Snow, he's Jon Sand. And Sam goes, no, he isn't. And Bran felt the need to chime in and go, bastards born in Dorne are named Sam. Good job, Bran. Sam wouldn't know that at all. And I just kind of felt, you know, a little bit of comedy in that. And then, you know, watching him go back and the wedding, like I said, on Sunday, it was a little weird for me seeing them take their vows in the ways of the Seven, but it was the High Septon, so I guess it makes sense. And then going back and forth between like the story of Jon and Dany, seeing Jon, you know, and her laying in bed together. And I remember, you know, the first time that she actually made love to Drogo, she wanted to look in his eyes, the soul comes through the eyes, basically. And you saw this parallel of John actually flipping her over and staring into her eyes. And it was kind of like completeness. He was something completely different than anything she's ever had before. He wasn't trying to be her lover. He was trying to make love to her. And it was just, really, significant, I think, for Daenerys, but also for Jon, because Jon had refused Melisandre before, and Melisandre was like, nothing, because he was insistent that he loved Ygritte. And I think ultimately Melisandre knew that Jon's destiny was somewhere else, because she's Mel, and sometimes she gets things right and sometimes she gets things wrong. But, I think that obviously Melisandre had an idea that Jon's destiny wasn't always at the wall. And then, finally getting that confirmation that I've been, going on and on and on about for the last year, that Jon's name is Aegon. I'm really astonished at the reaction of the community. Everyone's like, why would he name both of his sons Aegon? I just want to say that they do blend plots in the story, for sure. Tons of plots have been blended, but you've never seen a character introduced as a main character that you're like, for example, hi, this is Jon Snow. Jon Snow is a main character. Jon Snow is Ned Stark's bastard. Jon Snow is the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and he killed a White Walker, and he's going to lead the War for the Dawn. And by the way, he has a real name, but we're going to give him somebody else's identity. It doesn't really work like that. Yeah, they can take the path they want to make the story the way they want it to be, but ultimately, Jon has to be who he is. Daenerys has to be who he is. They didn't change Jorah's name to Jon Connington when they gave him grayscale. So we all have to consider that this actually could be the truth, and Jon needs to be who he is at the very end of this game, because that's what it's been all about for him, is having a sense of identity. I'm working on a timeline, guys. I'm going to try my best to give you guys the facts and let you draw your own conclusions. And I thought this scene was absolutely beautiful, and seeing the completeness of it, and seeing, some of the things that we've read in the books but haven't actually gotten in the show being played out. And I think come next season, we're going to get a baby, and it's not going to be a happy ending, but it's going to be amazing.
Awesome. John, you had a follow-up you wanted to bring up?
Yeah. Andrew, you said it was weird that they got married in the Faith of the Seven.
Mm-hmm.
I think is that maybe because they're in the South? Because when Robb got married, he also got married in the Seven. I'm wondering if it's because if they're in the North, they would do the old God's way, and in the South, they got married in the Seven. I'm wondering if that's a thing.
Well, Robb actually followed the Seven, unlike Jon. He believed in his father's values, but they took after their mom as far as their faith. I mean, Arya worshiped both. Sansa was, faithful to the Seven. I think Robb was a lot the same. I think that if Kat had her way, so would Bran and Rickon, but she didn't make it that long with them. But it makes sense for Robb, but with Lyanna being, a full-blooded Northerner, and everything happening at the tournament of Harrenhal, and the Northern influence, it just shocked me that this was done through the Seven instead of in front of a weirwood. At least, you know what I mean, vows of the Seven, weirwood present. I would have thought that would have been the case, but it didn't so much happen. I did wonder though if that was the same spot that Talisa and Robb got married at, but I don't think that we got that in the show.
I don't think
it's cool.
Maybe.
I love when they do stuff like that. Real quick, I just want to mention, because a lot of people were talking about or asking questions and talking about different things in the chat. For the off season, we're going to be continuing to do Behind the Iron Thrones podcast. Also, you can check out Total Nerd Takeover Studios in general. That's the name of our production company. We do a podcast called Nerd Theater. It's Apple time. We have a video game podcast, and some of these shows we don't currently record anymore, but they are available on iTunes to help you cope with the season being over. And we plan on bringing some of those podcasts back. Our Facebook page, Total Nerd Takeover, is a great place to keep track of all that stuff. We're going to be bringing everything out of the mothballs, so to speak. And remember, Total Nerd Takeover Studios, we are taking over the world, one nerd at a time. So we invite everybody to join us and listen to those podcasts and YouTube channels like tnrt.tv. And, of course, I want to thank Elizabeth for already liking the page. I saw it live. That's right. It just happened. Gold star to you. That is awesome. And, of course, Danielle, who loves movie review podcasts. Well, you're definitely going to love Nerd Theater, although it is very, very explicit. I'm glad you're a nerd convert. I've I love being a nerd. I wear it proud. I wear it around my neck. I wear it as a badge of honor. All right, so let's go on to the next scene. Oh, wait a second. Let's see what Eric says here. How will John react when he finds out Danny is his aunt and he is a Targaryen? And how will Danny act when she finds out John is a rightful heir to the Iron Throne? I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I think it'll be a quick little yikes moment, like, oh, but then it's going to be like, well, who cares? We love each other. The Targaryens did far worse. Jamie and Cersei have done far worse. And it may, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Not to mention, I don't think they have a lot of time to make it that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Anybody else want to take that question?
I think
What was the
it'll
question? Sorry.
I think it'll give Danny. I think it'll make Danny want to marry John now.
Okay. Awesome. Let's move on to number 13. Sansa and Arya have a moment. That was a nice moment. The lone wolf dies and the pack survives. Bran takes his last flight. And, of course, the Night King stops by Eastwatch. And he doesn't stop for a brisket or a hamburger. He stops to make some serious fucking carnage. So, Yarly, what are your thoughts here? And I just got to say, my business partner, Trish, loved this part of the episode. I'm just going to say
I love her.
Yeah, I thought that this part was great. It was nice to see the sisters acknowledge that they're stronger with a united front. And as far as the Night King is concerned, his dragon has like unlimited ammo. And that is awesome. He's got the cheat code for that. And Viserion is going to be a tough out, but I think at the end of the day, even though this dragon looks like it's supercharged against the others, I think at the end of the day, there won't be any dragons left. So it looks like a dire situation, but I think at the end of the day, we should probably look forward to some type of a hard reset where the dragons are gone and magic is going to wither away a little bit.
You know, I was watching this and I'm thinking up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, select, start. Cheat code enabled, baby.
Yeah.
John, come on, buddy. What are you thinking of an ice dragon?
Oh man, this scene. I mean, first off, love seeing Sansa and Arya together. Sansa and Arya together, they're stronger together. I think this is the strongest the Starks have been since season 1. They're united. They're strong. It's beautiful. I love how she's quoting her father, and how I love how she says, "When a lone wolf dies, the pack survive." I'm like, oh, the Starks. I mean, everything feels right, man. Like the Starks are Arya, Bran, Sansa are back in Winterfell. Jon's on his way. The Stark banner is flying high in Winterfell. This just feels so right. It feels like season 1 all over again. The Starks are back, babe. I love it. And then we get Viserion. Oh my God, this is crazy. This guy is like, he's crazy. Did he take a breath? He just freaking blew down that wall, and now the White Walkers are in Westeros, and I'm hoping that Giant Spain and Beric Dondarrion is I had to I hope they're alive. I think Giant Spain is alive, though I don't know about him. So it's gonna be crazy now. It's on now, man. Like it took 6 years. It took 6 years, but he's finally crossed the wall. 6 long years, he's finally crossed the wall, and shit got real, man. Okay, shit got real. I'm looking forward to a showdown between Drogon and Viserion. It's gonna be awesome.
Valeria says, John always gets me so hyped up about the Starks.
Yeah.
Danielle says, I can't believe they are finally in. It's really begun. Yeah. Well, I was also thinking, John, that with the Starks flying so high, that means that there could be a huge meltdown in the next season.
No, stop. I've had 6 years of meltdowns with my Starks. No, they're flying high, stay high. They're together. They're going to fight the Night's King. I don't want to hear no more about the Starks coming down. I mean, this is going to be like I can't wait to next season. Everyone's in Winterfell. This is like the Avengers 2 now. So the Avengers 1, you had all those guys be on the wall. Now you have to add, now you're adding Jamie to all that. So, and maybe Bronn. So it's Avengers Part 2 is coming.
Yeah, I'm excited for it as well, as long as it works out that way. Please work out that way. But this is Game of Thrones, and a lot of shit can go sour real fucking quick.
People are going to die fighting Night's King.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. Andrea, how did you feel about the final scenes that we had in season 7 finale?
Wow. Let's see here. If I can get this to go up. Let's see here. As far as Arya and Sansa goes, I love that they were able to protect. They were able to connect about protecting each other. I love the callback to season 1 when Ned told Arya that in winter they must protect themselves. And then it occurred to me that, well, I said earlier this season that the lone wolf was definitely Benjen, but now it occurs to me, and Gisela actually made this point, that the lone wolf was also Ned. He had been alone ever since, the rebellion. His father died, his brother died, his sister died. He lost his brother to the Night's Watch. He's basically been alone on his own. So he did, die, so that his pack could survive. And it was really impactful. And I actually loved that they finally actually had the time to talk about him without talking about how foolish he was, because he was an integral part to them. Seeing, the wall situation in Tormund, I was literally on the edge of my seat. We thought that he was going to die this season. I'm really happy that that's a prediction that I got wrong. I was really curious about Viserion. I took a ton of pictures of them coming out of the woods. There was only 3 lieutenants that emerged out the woods at the very beginning of the Whites, and so I'm wondering, like, has he lost that many? Because I tried to do the math. There was like 13 when we first saw him in the Lands of Always Winter. Then Jon killed 2, Mira killed 1, and whatchamacallit, Sam killed 1. So there can't be that many lost, right? So I'm thinking that he places them all around so that he can control them in a wide range, and he, stays close to them so that he can keep the link strong. I'm assuming this. Watching the wall come down, it was actually really bittersweet for me because it's been there for 10,000, 8,000 years, and it was so imposing. And watching like the force of Viserion's like ice fire, it was crazy. And all I kept thinking was, this is wild. So I kept watching the wall to see if there was like any hint of an actual ice dragon. And then it occurred to me that they're blending that too, which makes me really sad because they turned him blue. But it was really interesting. A couple of things. Everyone's been posting these articles. I did go back and get still shots, but I haven't done my episode review because I wanted to wait until today. There was one that saw the Stark sigil in the pattern of the Army of the Dead marching past the wall. And just before they started to pass the wall, there was the pattern of the Lion of Lannister, the standing lion, the fighting lion. So there's definitely some connection between them, what's going to happen, and the White Walkers. So I'm interested in seeing where season 8 takes us, because that was an amazing cliffhanger, and I'm literally like, I can't wait 2 more years. This is crazy. George better give us Winds of Winter.
Oh yeah, I'm dying for it too. John?
I don't think we're gonna wait 2 years for season 8. I think it's gonna happen next year.
I hope
I
so.
honestly believe it'll happen next year. They got to ride off this momentum. This was the highest rated episode they've ever had. I can't see them waiting 2 years to film. I mean, we're going to get it next year. Whether it be late, I think we're getting it next year.
Well, how cool would it be if they're like, oh, yeah, 6 months and we're ready to go for the last bit. I hope that whatever they do next, they do it quickly, the spinoffs, because I've enjoyed the Game of Thrones thoroughly. But we still have some time left, so we're good. Now we're going to finish up the show here because we're getting late in the show and long in the tooth. John, I know you have to go, buddy, and everyone in the chat room, if you want to give us your sword ratings, we'd love to read as many as we can, because we rate this with swords. 1 being the worst, 5 being the perfect, most absolute best episode ever. We don't do thumbs or stars or any of that bullshit or popcorn. We do thumbs up. So, John, give us your thumbs up rating, any closing thoughts, and of course, how can people find you and drive you crazy about your beardlessness on some type of social media?
So my favorite scene is I could have went with the boat sex because that's awesome, or Peter dying, but I'm gonna go with the Jamie leaving and then Winter's coming, and that's really slow ominous version of the opening theme that's playing, and you see like just it's like Westeros becomes dark and everyone's like it's just really gloomy, like the winters come or the long nights come, and like you could kind of feel like doom is coming with that with that where the music was playing and winter's there. So that's my favorite scene, and I'm gonna stick to 5 swords out of 5 for this episode and for the whole season. I thought everything was I thought this episode had everything I wanted and then some. So yeah, and I can't wait for next season.
Awesome. Andrea, your sword rating, please, and where people can find you on social media, and any final thoughts.
This was my favorite season finale. Lots and lots and lots of confirmation for me through, the off season and some of my predictions. And I really am glad that it was able to work out that way. So this season finale is my favorite. I give it 5 swords out of 5 swords. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at _Richard637. And you can find me here on Facebook all the time. I really like interacting with you guys. If you folks are thinking about a reread or starting to read the books in the off season, I am doing a book club on Facebook. We'll be posting a few chapters a week for in-depth discussion. And I think that our Thronies have talked me into a Wednesday show discussion for the books. So if you're interested in digging deeper, come to the Facebook page, send a request, and join in. I'm going to start on Sunday.
Awesome. John, thank you, buddy. Give us your goodbye and where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter, John Stomas, Facebook, Jonathan Stomas, Instagram, John50, and I gotta go to work. So see you guys later. Hopefully Sunday we'll be doing an episode. Talk to you guys later.
Awesome. Now Kevin gives it a 5. Marianne gives it a 5 swords. Elizabeth, 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe that was 5 swords. I'm losing everyone in the chat. If I get it wrong, just repost it for me, please. Valeria, 4 swords and a dragon hilt. I like that. Kurt, 5. Danielle, 4.25. And I think I said Marianne was 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. If I got it, if I got something wrong, then go ahead and put it back into the chat. Oh, Lord Bags is 5.
5.
Awesome. And of course, we got a really nice comment from Eric. Wanted to thank you all you guys for the great work you do. This is my favorite podcast. You do a tremendous job, and it's awesome how you guys interact with all the fans. Well, we absolutely love doing it, Eric, and we love it's why we do what we do. Elizabeth also says, ready for book club. #new beer read.
New beer read.
Nice. New beer read. Everything that Eric said by Danielle, awesome. All right, I think it's my turn to give a rating. I'm going to give it 4 swords out of 5. I definitely enjoyed it. It's probably one of my favorite episodes of all time. Season 7 was a phenomenal season, way better than I hated season 5, by the way. Just absolutely hated it. Season 7 was way above and beyond mostly all the seasons that I can remember. Definitely enjoying the show. And, of course, I love doing this podcast and all the podcasts that I record and the YouTube channels for you, our amazing community. Last but not least, we have the man, the militant marker, Yardley. Buddy, what is your sword rating? Any closing thoughts? And how can people find you on the social medias?
You can follow me on Twitter at militant_marker. I give this episode a 4. I thought it was a very solid episode. I actually enjoyed last season's finale better than this one. I thought that it was stronger from start to finish, but I thought that this was a great episode. And outside of a couple of things that I wish that they would have strengthened in the episode, I was highly satisfied. And it's enough to tide me over until it comes back. I'm pretty patient.
Awesome. Remember, you can check out everything we do at BehindTheIronThrone.com. You can also send us feedback at BehindTheIronThrone@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out Facebook.com/BehindTheIronThrone. You're seeing a theme here, I hope. And, of course, you can check out everything we do here at the Total Nerd Takeover Studios at TNRT.com or our Facebook page for TNRT. TNRT stands for Taking Over the World One Nerd at a Time. Actually, that's not what it stands for. It stands for Total Nerd Takeover, and we are taking over the world one nerd at a time. Okay, we'll see you guys next time for another great episode. I'm hoping to record this coming Sunday. maybe earlier than usual if possible. If not, then it will be the following Sunday. It really depends on how much farther I get on the new house and the new studio. Andrea, can you stick around with me for an after show for a few minutes?
Yeah.
And Yardley, you're always welcome to stick around too if you can, my friend.
No doubt, no doubt.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time for another great adventure with Behind the Iron Throne. Whoa! Titties for life. Whoa! Beat it. We're outie.